Welcome to this video, continuing the coverage of the candidates tournament, and we're already what is it, round 11? Yeah, we're really nearing the finish line, and the game to be examined in this video is Kramnik against Anand. So we have the 14th world champion Kramnik playing the 15th world champion in a very crucial game. Anand obviously leading the tournament with a great score, +3, 3 wins, no loss, while Kramnik has already suffered 2 defeats and is actually on, is it 3 defeats actually? He lost, yeah, it's 3. He lost it to Parlov, to Kayakin and to Swidler. Yeah, 3 defeats actually. He's on -1 and has basically no chance to qualify anymore. This is just 2 little points. Even with a win, it would be very difficult in this game. But let's see what happened. Kramnik playing d4 and Anand playing knight f6, e6, which is of course one main part of his opening repertoire. He had played the Slav though earlier in this tournament, so this was the second option that was to be expected. Anand also plays some sharper openings like the Grunfeld, for example, but this would have been a really strange choice, as he certainly is perfectly alright with getting a solid position. Kramnik playing the Catalan. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see what Anand would have done after knight c3. My suspicion is bishop b7, going for a super solid play, but never know. Yeah, Kramnik going for the Catalan, and one of his main weapons for a number of years now. And yeah, Anand goes for the main line, bishop e7 and castles. This is the most, yeah, let's say classical way to deal with things. First to complete the kingside development, then to capture on c4. Yeah, black here mostly has 2 ways to continue, to take or not to take. And there is also the closed Catalan with knight d7 and c6, which is a line that I have analyzed quite a bit for the black side, trying to keep the game a bit more interesting, keeping in mind yeah, situation where you actually want to win as black. How to do that with d takes c4, that's tricky. Anand played this d takes c4 move, which is objectively the best move, and for the situation certainly also the fitting one, not risking anything and doing anything fancy. Yeah, here white mostly plays the move queen c2, after which black goes a6, and now white can capture or play a4. This is the Catalan main line, and been played by Kramnik numerous times. Here he played knight e5, however, which is, yeah, as you can see from the clue, he took a bit of time deciding now what line to play. And it's a line that he had played before, Kramnik. We can see that the following moves actually had been played in last year's candidates tournament in a crucial game against now world champion Magnus Carlsen. Yeah, what's the idea of knight e5? Yeah, it's very obvious. White wants to get the pawn back, and ideally right now taking it with the knight. If black is playing yeah, some sort of standard move, let's say like c5, white enjoys a very comfortable position after something like that, with this bishop putting the usual pressure on the long diagonal, and black is rather passive here, always with this bad bishop on c8 that is simply worse compared to the great g2 bishop. After knight e5, black has a very direct method of play, and this is probably the best way to play. I have a soft spot for the somewhat weird looking move queen d6 here, which I sometimes play in blitz chess. Just to mention it for black players who play this position. If you want some to irritate your opponent, then queen d6 can be a quite useful move. The idea is to go there, and then play a quick rook d8. It's not so terrible. It looks a bit strange, I admit that, but it's not so bad. Okay, but Anand is wants to play. Oops. Now wants to play the best moves and not try to trick the opponent. Knight c6 is really probably the best move. It directly attacks the d4 pawn and therefore forces the action. White cannot take on c4 as it gives up the pawn. So you need to take on c6 after knight c6, and white has two ways to do it, obviously. There's also, oops, of course not a6. There's also this line, taking with the knight. But in this situation, it's not so easy for white to get one of those pawns. Bishop c6, rook b8 is really active for black. He will play bishop b7 next and has no problems whatsoever. And other ideas include knight a3, but still this pawn, yeah, you can protect for a while as black. And there is always a possible counterplay against d4. Yeah, the usual way to go is what Kramnik played, to take with the bishop and then with the knight, so that you attack the queen. It needs to move, and now white takes on e7. Yeah, what is the result of this exchange? Yeah, white has very good chances to emerge with an extra pawn, but the c4 pawn is very difficult for black to keep. In fact, the most popular move here is the move queen to a4, trying to get this immediately. There are various possible lines, e5, c5, something like that, for example, could be played, with white having a pawn, but black having a very good bishop that might be active on the long diagonal, and white has a somewhat weakened king side, obviously. He's giving up his bishop on g2. In this position, in last year's candidates tournament, however, Kramnik introduced a new idea, queen c2, and after e5 he played rook d1. Yeah, Carlsen had to solve this over the board, and well, he managed, and at the end managed to draw this this game. This was an interesting try, but I think it's mostly diffused by now. Kramnik here played another move. He played knight to a3, and this is almost a novelty. There are only like 2 games in the database with this move, and yeah, this was new to Anand. He hadn't anticipated this idea, and he took a while, then played c5. Yeah, again, it is probably happening that white will win a pawn, as the c4 pawn is just a bit too weak. c5, however, seems to be the best reply. White basically needs to capture. There is not much else. If white takes immediately here, black will get this rook d8 move in, which already feels rather comfortable for black. You will get d4 anyway. So c5, white captures, queen takes, and the bishop to e3. This was the idea, obviously, connected with knight a3. Now the queen needs to move, and yeah, there's more than one possible square. I think Anand played it fine. He played queen to h5. This move has a very direct idea, simply to play knight to g4, and this is also why white cannot take on c4 here immediately. This should lead to some problems. If you look at this, yeah, white must play h4, which in itself looks ugly. But the main issue is that bishop a6 now is a problem. If you move the knight, yeah, you're going to get completely clobbered, something like that. So you need to cover it in a way. Let's say b3. It does not matter. It's awful in any case. And here, yeah, black can, like that, destroy white's structure completely, and this is just awful. Completely ridiculous pawn structure. So white cannot take on c4. Kramnik prepared that with f3, and this of course controls crucial squares so that the knight cannot join in on g4. Yeah, and here I think Anand defended very precisely. He played the move c3. Black also can play other things. It's well known from the related lines, starting with 95, that Black can get compensation in various ways for this pawn. In the press conference, Kramnik also hinted that e5 could be okay for Black, which is maybe true. And he actually said that this knight a3 idea was an old idea that he had found a couple of years ago. And yeah, he pretty much spontaneously decided to try it in this game. But when the position actually came up a couple of moves later, he couldn't really figure out why he had liked the move in the first place. If we see after Anand's reply, c3, which is, I guess, just the best move, White needs to capture, and now queen a5. So Black has abandoned the pawn that he had, the c-pawn, but has gotten a very active position. The knight here is just not very well placed. And what do you do with this piece? There's also c3 hanging. Kramnik played queen to c1. It doesn't look too active, but let's say the normal looking move, queen here, is also a bit problematic after bishop a6. Black is threatening rook b8, which would already basically win the knight. If White makes a nothing move, you will lose this knight. So very uncomfortable already. White probably needs to do something like that and return the pawn, after which there's simply nothing going on. Very important, after the e-pawn falls, in any case, in any line, this point on d5 gets available for Black's knight. This is very important with the e-pawn missing. With the e-pawn on the board, in some lines, White could actually play e4 and take the square. And this is why regaining the e2 pawn is very valuable for Black. Queen b3 is not really doing much. Queen c1 was played, and now bishop a6. We see that Black has very active pieces, and the knight is simply not good. c4. I think there really is not much else. Rook c8. Here you could debate if maybe rook fc8 also was good, but rook ac8 seems fine. And here Kramnik took a while and then took on a7, which is basically admitting that there is not much going on. What else could he do? There also was the move rook d1, which is I think a bit more testing for Black, but I think he will have enough play anyway. One key point is that Black's idea is to capture here and play queen to a6. In this exact position, it is not so precise because of rook d6. We look at this. White will take here, and while Black has some compensation, it's probably not enough. But Black can actually prepare that whole procedure by probably playing knight to d5. This is a good move to block the d file. Something like that is probably right. And now Black will take on c4 later. Very difficult to find an improving move now for White. You're a bit tied up. The c6 move, by the way, is designed to protect g7. Sounds weird, but look at this. This is actually a nice trick. And White has this check to unpin himself. Maybe not even the best move. But Black can simply play this move f6 to make sure there's nothing happening on g7. And it's not clear if White has any improving move. If White plays a nothing move just to show it, then you can really safely capture and get the knight back. Rook d1 was still a bit more testing, but okay, Kramnik took on a7, and now bishop c4. And the line now is completely forced. White needs to take. Check. Queen a7 with a check. Queen e3, the only move. And okay, now Black cannot just simply take. This leaves the a-pawn on the board, but he can play queen to a6, and this is the main point. This knight is now attacked 2 times, It had to move, of course, to e5, and now rook c2, which is basically a double attack. And yeah, white needs to return one pawn. Played knight d3, covering e2, knight d5. Yeah, black could also take, I think. Yeah, I think he could also take. There is not much wrong with that, but I guess he figured gaining a tempo cannot be wrong. And e4. Yeah, here Anand also could have taken on f2. Maybe he was afraid that white will have a very, very minimal edge in this position. Maybe that's not really the case, but I can understand that he was thinking that, okay, my knight is attacked, I don't have this d5 point. And let's say, for example, knight f6, probably not the best move actually. Then something like that could actually be slightly annoying with pressure on f7. Queen a3 is just very precise. It attacks the knight, and the knight does not have any great place to go. If you go to e5, you can even activate your knight here. Yeah, this was played. Queen d3, and now this happened. Yeah, first glance you think, okay, is this maybe a bit better for white with the e6 pawn? Yeah, it's really too little. Even if white would get the pawn, it's still very, very drawish. And, queen e1 was played and queen d5. This is a good spot for black to counter attack. Queen e3, h6. Yeah, and white has no way to strengthen the position. He played just rook e1, rook f3, check. Queen e6, and here they agreed to a draw. Yeah, I understand, not a very exciting game, but a very important game for Anand in the tournament, as he has drawn another black game that could become uncomfortable if something is going wrong. But he simply is playing very precisely in this tournament, not making any sort of blunders or whatever. I mean, knight a3 is probably not the most testing idea ever, but he completely equalized against it, and you still need to do that. There are ways to go wrong, and this is simply very good play. Yeah, not great for the spectators, but you need to play those draws to qualify at the end. The wins happened elsewhere. Yeah, and well, Kramnik, after yesterday's terrible loss against Swidler, it's understandable that he wasn't. Yeah, he said that he was just trying to play a game and didn't prepare like ours. Also couldn't find any sleep. It's very understandable after that game. So he tried an idea in a solid opening, like the Catalan, and tried to do a little something. If nothing materializes, then it's a draw, and this is what happened. All right, I hope you liked the coverage anyway, maybe got some opening knowledge out of it in case you play the opening with either color. Yeah, thanks for watching.